purpose is to get us oriented to the course and preview the first week of the course. Now, the orientation is available online, and so there are some people who have done it already or who are in progress. I know some of you are working on it right now, and that's fine. This is one thing we actually encourage faculty to do as they develop their own online or hybrid course, is to develop an orientation that they can release to students early. And then, when they see their students, I even do this in my campus class. I have an orientation that they go through the first day of class. And this is not the, hey, here's everything about Blackboard orientation, because we actually have a Blackboard orientation your students can go to. This is the, here's my course orientation. So that's what we're going to take you through today, and give you a preview of what needs to be done in week 1, which has been out there for a little while. But we kind of want to do it in classroom environments to capture any of your questions right now, or explain anything in detail. One of the most common things we encounter when people first come here is why they're here and what courses that they are thinking about offering in an online or hybrid format. So before I dig into the course, I want to mention that usually folks are here for one of, I don't know, the reasons keep expanding. Like originally it was like just full-time faculty taking the training. Now it's become administrators, adjuncts, full-time, all kinds of disciplines, all kinds of reasons. But usually it might be because somebody said you should be here to get trained. The second one is because you have in mind a course that's not currently offered online that you'd like to see go online, or hybrid. And that, when I say hybrid, in the nursing program, it could be a course where there's some things that could easily be delivered online, but then some things, like you said, you don't want somebody doing on online format. You'd like to see them in a lab or a classroom environment to accomplish that. So sometimes you have an idea of what you'd like to do online or in a hybrid format. Or then finally, someone may have asked that a course be delivered in an online format, and you're the lucky person that gets to do that. Well, maybe that's not a finally. Then there's the other one, like, I know there's online courses out there, and I'd like to teach them someday. Someone else is currently doing it or whatever, and I'd like to get trained so that when that opportunity presents itself, I can. They're not necessarily linked. You might take the training, but that's not a guarantee that you're ever going to teach the course. There actually are other faculty who are trained, that are certified in your area to teach online, but I think that's a question within a department is what's offered online or hybrid format, and who selects it and who teaches it. And we've got Eric back here in case you have any questions about any of that. Like if you said, yeah, Eric Cunnin, not Eric Mullen back there. So before I launch into our agenda of what we're doing today, is there any pressing questions about online or hybrid course development or anything like that? Yeah.
Can you just talk about the formula in terms of contact hours, how it equates for in-person versus online, or is that flexible? How that determines?
Sure. You mean in terms of the amount of work that's required of students in an online format versus campus, or?
Well, in the hybrid scenario.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So one of the things that we go into in the orientation, but it's good to talk about up front, because maybe you're like, what is online? What do you, hybrid? What do you mean by that? Those formats are actually described in the faculty contract, and a online course is a class that's delivered through our course management system, Blackboard, with very few campus visits. I usually get a little snicker out of that. What very few is not defined, but we want to make it clear to the learner, you're going to be doing a course online. A hybrid course is an online course with no more than 50% classroom instruction. So there's a couple things there. It could be less, it just can't be more. And if they do come to campus, the intent was that would be classroom instruction. So you're not calling a course a hybrid because you do your final exam in the assessment center. and everything else is done online. Did that get your question? So like if, for example, if you had a 3 contact hour class, you would not have more than half of that class in seat on campus. Eric, any other comments, or I didn't screw that up? Awesome. All right. Okay, so let's get into the meat of it. If you go into Blackboard, hopefully all of you over on the right are now students, and we want to give you the student experience. Inevitably, every person in this class at one time will mutter, "Now I know what it'll feel like for my students." Right? Whether it's being overwhelmed by the number of posts, whether it's this technology is not working for me, or it's he just doesn't get what I'm asking, you will feel that. And some of that's intentional. We like to joke if something doesn't work. We did that just to give you the experience. But over on the right, you should have courses that you're enrolled in, and you should have a course that says DLIT OHCC, W11 for Winter 11. You go, and anybody not have access to the course? Right. We don't get that many drop-ins, so it's good to have everybody in there. When you first go in, you see that we have a series of announcements. Each week, we will post a new announcement with the assignments that you are supposed to complete. But you'll also see as we go through the orientation, we've already laid out week by week what it is that you're going to be doing. And the first announcement we posted was a welcome announcement with detail about the orientation and when it ends and when the first week starts and ends. This is a little bit of a trick with online and hybrid students. How does the week flow and how similar or different it is to what they are used to. So we run this like many online courses, and that is you start the academic week on a Monday and you go start a new one on the next one. But there are faculty who have their online courses starting on different days. One of the reasons I've seen that is because we do find that a lot of our students like to work on their courses on weekends. And so some faculty have said, I want them to have that weekend to do it, but I don't want to be teaching the entire weekend. Like, I don't want to be up Sunday. My compromise that has been I run my academics week parallel to my campus week, and I just let them know. You're going to see me all week, but it's probably going to lighten up a little on the weekends. And please don't wait until 11:50 on the Sunday night to try to submit something, because I am not waiting up for you to do that. And if you submit and something doesn't work and you email me, I may not get that till Monday morning. So anyway, that's a long way of explaining why we start on Monday and then on Sunday, but we're kind of trying to mirror how we offer most of our online courses. Now, it's a little different with hybrid courses, because obviously if you're in the schedule with a specific day of the week or frequency of meetings during the semester, then you might have your week structured differently. Like do online activities first and then come to class or to a lab on Thursday to complete the rest of that week. Or that week kicks off with a classroom instruction and then you do some online activities. So you have to do some thinking about that. Our hybrid courses are in our PeopleSoft or online faculty center with specific dates, times, and room numbers where your students meet. So it's not kind of like, I want to do hybrid, but I'll figure out later when I'm going to make my students come. You need to get that scheduled because, if not, rooms can sit empty for large portions of the time while you're meeting students online. Questions about that, the timing of things? All right. So we sent you a link to the syllabus, and I'll go ahead and, while I'm here, and open that up and kind of just go through it real quickly here. And one of the things that you'll notice what we like to do is we like to give you access to this syllabus even if you weren't in Blackboard. So you could go here, you could bookmark this. Anytime you have a question, you could go back here and take a look at it. I'm going to see if I can make the font a little bigger. Is that better? I won't read this to you. I'll just talk about some of the things that that have come up, and please feel free to ask questions. It's a 5-week certification, and you have to complete all 5 weeks, including the final presentation, to be eligible to be certified. And our goal at the end of the 5 weeks is not to develop a complete course. You know, if you have done any online development, you know that would be a huge task to do. So, as it mentions in the first paragraph there, our desire is that you develop a template of your course, and we'll talk in more detail about what a template is here in a few minutes. Well, I'll just mention it right now. You're going to have your online syllabus, you're going to have your schedule, you're going to have your course organized and laid out in terms of the weeks that you're going to have in it. And we're going to end with 1 week of content that you develop to demonstrate that you know how to do it. And then after that, and I say that at the beginning, and then people get all apprehensive, like, I got to do all these weeks and do all the work. You don't. We're interested in getting 1 good quality week, and then you can use that as a template for your other weeks. Eric, any comment on that? I just waited till you had a chip in your mouth before I asked that.
No, I just wanted to say that in the presentations that we have done too in the past, after you present your template, it's just really rich time for learning from each other, and like just different strategies of how to set things up, and it's a good opportunity to see different examples from each other on how to proceed forward, pick up some new ideas along the way. Also, one of the things that we've tried to do too is try to model some of the course design and such through the online Harvard certification course that you're currently enrolled in. So feel free to grab ideas and take and use things that we have in place for you too. If you run into a problem, that was by design, so that you don't feel like to experience an issue.
I already used that joke.
And then I guess I was just wondering too, does everyone have a
book?
Elements book?
Yep. If you don't, there's some textbooks back here. We'll grab you one. This is free, no extra charge. You get to keep it. Most people have told us this is a good resource, so hang on to it. Don't sell it back to the bookstore. They won't take it.
And I think one last thing I wanted to say with the template was that, I mean, it's something that you're going to be working on, throughout the entirety of the class. So if you're doing your work as you go along, by the end you'll have it done already. So it's not like a research project that you wait till the last minute to do. Although I remember doing that as a student. But I mean, if you're doing the tasks each week as you go along, you'll be really fun.
We find it's a pretty practical book. I like to go off on tangents about this kind of stuff, but maybe your experience here was, here's the textbook for your class, here's your classroom, go get them. And so that's the way you've taught, is you got your textbook and you teach the textbook. What we try to do in this certification is focus you in on key parts of the book that relate to the outcome that we're addressing, versus just saying read the first 3 chapters or something. But what you'll find about this book is that there are really cool checklists and things that in future semesters I think will be helpful to you. All right. Most of our communication in this course is done in the course through the discussion board, so other people can see and we can interact with each other. If it's something that you want to keep confidential, something that's happening with you want us to know about, or questions about grades, which I'll talk a little more about grades, because sometimes faculty freak out the first time they're given a grade, then you can email us that. And the other thing we like to do is talk about how to participate on the discussion board and how to post the discussion board. We're going to show you how to do that, but here's the grading part of the course. And the first sentence up there is pretty important. In order to become certified, you have to have a 70% throughout the course, complete all the requirements of the course, and demonstrate proficiency in meeting the outcomes for the course. And that includes the final presentation. So, just to be clear, it's not like, well, I've got a 70 in the class so far, I'm going to stop, which I haven't had faculty doing that. But your final presentation is set up to demonstrate you met all the competencies for the certification. So if you don't do that, then we really can't say that. Occasionally, we have people who something comes up in their life or whatever, and they can't do the certification when we schedule it. Then we just arrange to meet with you to go through your presentation. So you definitely will have a chance to do that. And here are some of the activities that will be graded. There will be some graded activity every week. The one that we grade every week is participation. And we participate by posting to the discussion board. And we're doing this because we want you to know what it feels like and determine what role participation will play in your online or hybrid course. I can tell you that unless your students are actively posting and participating, it's difficult for you to assess whether they're learning anything. So you can ask them to do all kinds of stuff online, and then they just take a quiz, and that's all the evidence you have of what they're actually learning. Versus if you engage them in discussion, you can see by what they post whether they're getting it or not. You can ask follow-on questions. I'll get faculty who say, I'll say, what is your reservation about teaching online? Well, I won't get to see my students, and I won't get to judge their reaction to something I'm saying, and I won't be able to engage them the way I can in the campus classroom. Well, sure, there is that. There's hybrid format. You can do a little of both. But I will say that I get more participation by more of my students in an online class than I do in a campus class. I'm able to continue conversations and go deeper with them. I'm able to pull out students who may not necessarily want to talk in the campus classroom. It takes time to learn how to do that. Like if you just say, well, they told me in the certification I got to have students participate, so you just throw out a question that a student can look up in a book and just reply, then you get 22 replies that look exactly alike, and there's not a whole lot that's going on there. But we do ask you to participate, and we'll show you how, and that's 30% of your grade. Then each week, if you notice, these are the elements of the template that you're building to present at the end of the course. So if you stay on schedule and you do what you need to do each week, at the end you're not cramming, as Eric says, to get that final project done. You have it built. So the first week of the class we go over building a course schedule. Then the second week we do the syllabus. The third week we actually develop the learning activity you're going to use in a weekly module for your course. Then we do that orientation, much like we have an orientation for this course. And then the last week is wrapping it all together in our final presentation. And the final presentation is also 30% of your score. A total of 250 points. I will get faculty who haven't had that experience of their peer, which is us, giving you points. And then they'll get a little frustrated, like, how come I didn't get every point? You guys have never heard that from your students before, have you? I'm going to say, I'll stop short of saying the points don't matter. I mean, one of the big reasons we're doing the points is just so we can track that you've done the assignments. They do matter in terms of what it says above, 70%, et cetera, demonstrating the competencies. But if you get 24 points instead of 25, not a big deal. Honestly, in all our running of these certifications, just because somebody has 2 points short of 70%, that doesn't mean they're failing the certification. We don't look at that as our primary thing in determining whether somebody gets through or not. The big one for us is the final presentation. And we have had it that people have done, we've thought fairly well through the course, and then at the end really have struggles. So if you're struggling, please let us know. Please come and meet with us. Let us know. We'd be glad to help you put these things together. The Friday sessions are optional. So you can do this certification online. If you're struggling with things, we have these sessions for you to come to, and we can show you how to do things. If you're struggling with not being able to see and interact with other people, we have these sessions on Friday so that you can come to them. If for some reason you can't make it to one, we are recording them, so you would have that available to you. And as I mentioned earlier, all these assignments each week are due by 11:59 p.m. Of course, it's Eastern Standard Time right now on Sunday. And you know, some people laugh when they see that up there, but I have had students in different time zones, so it's important to point out which time zone we're talking about when we ask people to submit things. And you will be able to go out and check your grades, and we'll let you know when your grades are posted. So you will get that student experience. And you will inevitably, there will be someone in this class, I have it every cohort, who's like, where's my grades, where's my grades, where's my grades? And you guys probably have felt that before also. Once we get, basically what we need to do is go look at your work, evaluate it, post your grades, post an announcement, send you email, let you know. And we don't do that until we've got everyone's grades done. You usually can expect that before we see each other again the next Friday. Does that make sense? Like Sunday ends, and then we start grading your stuff, and then usually on that next hybrid session when we're together, hey, grades are posted, and then that might be a good time if you had a question about anything, you could ask it there too. How am I doing so far? Too fast, too slow, just right? All right, participation. You participate by posting in the weekly discussion forum at least 3 out of 7 days each week. Now, we do it this way. You can do it this way, your online course. You might decide you want a different standard. You don't want them doing it on different days. You just want them to post 3 times or whatever. We feel that 3 times can sometimes be Sunday 11:50, 3 posts, and they're not very substantive, whatever. But and you will do that too, right? I forget, and I'll be like, how can these students do it? And then I'll do it. But I find that by encouraging them to post on different days throughout the week, that there's more interaction with students. It doesn't guarantee it, because I'm already, it's the first week of my online classes, and I've already got them going. Well, what do I do? Do I have to reply to someone else? Do I have to reply to you? Do I have to post my own? And they're more wrapped up in how to meet the requirements to get all the points than the point that they just need to interact with each other and show me what they're learning. So we put a rubric together, and this is something that stuff you see here, you can steal. It's not stealing because they're giving you permission to use any of it that you want. But our syllabus is on the internet. You can grab this. We'll show you our syllabi. The facilitators in here have taught online. They can show you what's worked for them. But we have a participation rubric that if you're going to grade participation, we encourage you to not only talk to your students about the quantity of their posts, but also the quality of those posts. If not, you get, I agree, good job, way to go. Those are the 3 posts for the week. So we look for things like people who stay on topic, people who post things that help clarify, synthesize. We look for people who don't have to be coaxed to participate. We look for, we don't have this problem with faculty, at least we haven't had it so far, who intentionally try to draw the topic off conversation to something. But you do get those in your online class with your online students. Inevitably, there's someone who, has, some axe to grind or some issue that they're dealing with, and they want to let everybody know about it, and it may not. And some of them they'll try to connect it to whatever the topic for the week is, but there seems to be a theme to it. So, watching to making sure that we all are respectful to each other. If you ever have a question about that, like you feel maybe somebody treated you rudely or isn't understanding you, feel free to email the person or email us and ask us. Don't stew about it out there. All right, and then there's the weekly schedule. Each week, before I show you the full schedule here, has a list of assignments you have to complete. It's linked to an outcome or competency for the course. It has some kind of learning activity. It usually gives you an opportunity to practice or reinforce your learning. And it has some kind of graded assignment. And all of these are combined in a way that actually helps you build real stuff for your template that you're going to present and use later if you teach online in the future. So here is the weeks laid out. Here's what we're doing in the orientation. And in the first week, we're going to do course schedule. Here's an example of a course schedule. We've got the weeks laid out on the left. We got the topics that we're going to cover. It's really the outcomes and objectives for the course, but we call it topics. We like to use simple terms. Activities that you're going to complete each week. And, there's kind of a flow to it. Read this article or read this part of the textbook, post to the discussion board, complete some activity, etc. And so you can see what's going on in each week of the course. As I've said before, you're not developing all this stuff for every week, but by the end of the course, you should have the course planned. Like you should have an idea of what you're doing. Is anybody freaking out saying, I have no idea what my online activities are going to be? How could I possibly put it in the schedule right now? Not until I said that, right? So sometimes we get faculty that come in and are like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing in my campus class week to week, but now you're saying to me I have to tell you what I'm doing every week of my online class? We're not. We're saying that by the end of the course, you should have a good idea of what you're going to do each week. And so you can revise your course schedule over time. So we anticipate what you're going to give to us in the first week as an example of what you think you're going to do in your online course may not look the same as what you come up with by the end of the certification. Because as we go along, you're going to get ideas, and you're going to learn new things. So your schedule will probably change. Maybe your attitude towards participation or quizzing or whatever it is will change. So you might change your schedule based on that too. All right, so that's the syllabus. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the orientation. And you'll see this is pretty much the setup of the class each week. It starts out with a little intro and a list of what you're supposed to learn. And there's a readiness survey, and there's a cute little cartoon there. And if you click on that readiness survey, how many of you have already done this? All right, so some of you have already done that. If you click on this readiness survey, it'll open in a new tab or window. We have your students do this, so we would like you to do it, so you know what it is they're doing. But basically, before you start, we look at different aspects of their life, because they didn't necessarily think about all this before they registered for your class. What is their learning environment? What skills do they have? What do they expect out of the course? And what do they have in the way of technology? We've had students say, oh, I didn't know I needed a computer for an online course. So what we'd like you to do is go through and assess yourself. We don't get this, and really the points on this one don't matter. It's just to kind of get you thinking about things, and it'll give you a score at the end. If you don't get a high enough score, you don't get thrown out or anything. But do pay attention to the numbers. Like, if you start clicking all the numbers one direction, it might be a different question. I'll shut up and I'll let you do this, and I'll pause the recording in case again. But there's a process now, and basically the process is in place to ensure that we get a quality course developed, but also because there's compensation tied to developing a course that has not been delivered online before. So they put it in the contract, is put into two categories. Either you're going to teach a course that's already offered online, and your job is just to deliver your version of it, or you're here to develop a new course that has not been offered online before. And that's not a decision for just you. You start with the department and you get approval from the department. Then it actually goes through our process to Dean's Council, which then approves the offering of it in an online or hybrid format. And then from there, There's a check to see if you're certified, which you guys are going through this certification now. And then from there, Eric can take it because I'm talk about the rest. Usually what we do is we focus on the training, how to teach online here and the Blackboard part. But if you have more detailed questions about how do I get this course through my department, they don't seem to want to do that or something like that. We usually takes a little more focused time to talk about those type of things because it is tricky. You're an adjunct and you want to know whether you're the one that can develop it or not, or the course has already been delivered online and you want to know, do I have access to any of that type of content? Generally, the way that works, how many of you want to teach a course that's already delivered online? 1, 2, 3. All right. So the college has a template for that course, but the template is just those elements that we mentioned, the syllabus, the schedule, there's some introductory instructions to the student, but the meat of that course, if it's already being taught online, whoever's teaching it online developed that and holds that. Ideally, we'd like to see more content freely available and exchanged among faculty, and that does happen. I'm not saying you're here and someone else is teaching it and you can't have any of their stuff, but that's a conversation that you'd want to have in your department and with others that teach your course. Other comments about that or questions about that?
It's no different than the classroom teaching. I mean,
yeah.
First semester I had to teach, the music listening, the general humanities. I went to the guy, Dwayne Davis, who's now retired,
Yep.
and said, "Can I see your syllabus?
Sure.
And can I use that as a model?" Oh yeah, here, just change whatever you want and just use it.
Right.
So there's good cooperation there.
Good, and that varies. I think, and in most areas, I think faculty are willing to share the basics in terms of the CARP and syllabus of the course. It's when you get into some of that online content that faculty have developed and spent a lot of time on, that might be a question as to whether they're willing to share that with you or not. But you can ask, you can have those conversations. You can say, one of the best resources you have outside of the certification is other online faculty, and going to them and saying, "Hey, how did this go online? I'm thinking about doing this. Did that work?" So, anyway, that is the online and hybrid course approval process. And the other link here is to the distance learning standards. There are standards for distance learning offerings at GRCC. It was developed by a cross-campus team, and it's been there for a long time. We introduce it to every person that goes through a cohort of this certification. We would like to see people more actively use it, but this is where it's at. If you go to our distance learning site, there's a link to it, and we want you to know that we're not just like making this stuff up. It's based on 7 principles of good practice. In technology as a lever in terms of those 7 principles, our accreditation standards, and down here is our DL standards. And if you look at it, we're in the online category, and we're looking for things like encouraging contact between faculty and students, and between students and students. We're not looking for faculty to put their course out there in Blackboard and then not go to it. We're looking for them to actively facilitate the course. Hopefully you'll see how we facilitate and run this course is how we imagine it should be done. I mean, you guys can design your own activities and do it differently than us. We're not saying that, but respectfully responding to students, offering them ways to communicate with you and with each other, providing them feedback. So go through here, take a look at this, see what the standards are in terms of online courses. But there's considerable freedom in each one of these categories. I mean, when you talk about collaborative learning, well, an online course, that could be a variety of things. It could be groups, it could be interaction on the discussion board. So please go through that. Generally, I would say the college, and I'd say the faculty too, have a desire that our online courses would be more than just the same slides and handouts and stuff that we use in our campus class. We really want to see your teaching and the learning process out there inside the course. All right, so there's that. So take a look at that, and when you're done, you can check that too. There's an intro in your textbook, which you just got, so when you get a chance, read that. But the next thing I'd like you to do is go through this pre-course questionnaire. So if you click on item D, you should get a quiz. We are gathering information about you through using a quiz tool that's built into Blackboard. It's not graded. It's just going to show in your grade book whether you completed it or not. It's not worth any points. But we encourage you, if you want to know things about your online students that you might never see, come up with some kind of tool to gather that information. Maybe it's an icebreaker activity on the discussion board, but it also could be something like this. So you don't have to go in a whole lot of detail. Just give us some quick comments on, what motivates you to teach online, and I heard some of that. And we'll give you some time to do that. If you don't get it finished, you can save your answers and come back to it later. But I'm going to pause the recording again. I will resume our recording here. So the next one is the syllabus and the FAQ. And we already went over the syllabus. Notice that this orientation, instead of just saying to your students, go read the syllabus, this orientation directs you through the things you need to do. And this is actually a course link that takes you to the course information area. So instead of just telling them to go do it, you lead them through doing it. You could do other things too. You could actually have little review check boxes here so they're prompted to check that they actually reviewed it if you wanted to. Or you could even give a little quiz. Here's the syllabus quiz. It's worth points or it's not worth points. And you have to have read the syllabus to answer the questions. Those kind of things. So I'm not going to go through the syllabus again. If you have questions about how to contact us, there's a contact link. And we'll add all the facilitators there. But the frequently asked questions, if you click on that link, this is a wiki. A wiki is Hawaiian for quick. It's a quick tool that you can use to edit in your course. Basically, you can create series of web pages in an area in Blackboard. So I don't know, you want software instructions, you have multiple pages, different topics, and you want to put that all in one place. You could use this wiki tool. You want students to be able to add resources to your own course, glossary of medical terms, whatever it is, you can use this. We use it so that you or we can post frequently asked questions that come up. Great tool for that in your course. You got your syllabus. You think you've covered everything, but you keep getting persistent questions. So you create a wiki, you post it there, you tell students it's there, and then you roll that into your syllabus the next semester. You got kind of a history of what kind of questions students commonly ask. So we just threw an example of that. If you click over on the right, it says faculty contract. And that's where you'll find like some of the information about the faculty contract and what this course covers according to the contract. Generally, what this is getting at is that in order to select or be assigned an online or hybrid course at GRCC, you have to be certified. And that means you either have to take this certification or an equivalent somewhere else. All right? So that's that. I'm going to go back into the orientation, and I'm going to mark that I reviewed that. You mark it when you've reviewed it. And then introduce yourself. That's the next one. That one you could do now, you can do later. Quite a few of you have already done it or were doing it while I was talking. Eric Mullen. He says he's got a little photo blog here, so it's, we'll go there. There he is. Aww. Cool pictures. I like the way you have your guitars organized. Dogs. So see how much I'm learning about Eric already? Awesome. Are one of those posts about this certification?
It will be.
Oh, it's like it's always revealing when you go out and read somebody's blog and it's like, I'm taking this horrible course right now. All of a sudden these Facebook posts start coming out. Boy, my facilitator. All right. It says he's a social media nut. Eric, you know, Eric, in addition to being a kind of an interior designer, he's into gardening and stuff like that. No problem with that. I'm totally cool with him being like that. So he's got a little slideshow here, and he's real like, we have this plant in our office. He takes care of it. I don't. He's real excited when something happens to it. I'm not. So you can read about him and him. And there's Cora's picture there. She got let's pull it up here. Family photo. Oh, look, that's so cute. Isn't that cool though? I mean, do you ever get that with your campus students? I mean, do they walk up to you and say, "Here's my family"? I don't get that very much, but I do online. I give them this idea. Why did we use the blog tool instead of discussion board? Like, why didn't we have to go to the discussion board and post your introduction? What we'd find is we'd have 17 posts buried in a discussion thread, and we'd have to go digging through it to find your introduction and see a picture or not. But this format, we can, at a glance, go back and take a look at, where you're coming from or what your family looks like or whatever. It's just kind of a nice way for you to have a one place to go in your course to refresh your memory about students in your course. So great. If you haven't done that, go ahead and get out there. You can also, at the bottom of these posts, post comments, reply to other students in the post. You'll find that there are other people out there who have interest outside of GRCC. I know that's weird. I mean, our students run into us outside of GRCC. They're like, what? It's like they're on some foreign planet or something. But you will find you guys have interest outside of GRCC, and then you'll find out you have some common interests. Mine isn't gardening, but sometimes it's running or it's whatever it is, and it's just really cool. Or you got grandkids, or you got lots of kids, or whatever it might be. So, alrighty, so that's that. It really kind of gives a more personal connection to an online course. We encourage you to use that tool. It's available to everybody inside of Blackboard. And then I'm going to go into the last item, and that is I still have questions. Kind of nightmarish looking there. So if you have questions in this course now or at any time, of course, if you have them now, you can just ask me. You don't have to say, oh, post it. So if you click on that link, it's a course link that takes you into the thread in the virtual office discussion forum. So now or at any time in the future, you've got a question about how the course runs or something, you can go here and post it. One thing that we think is kind of cool is the subscription feature on the discussion board. Like Cora was asking me while we were doing the assessment, concerns about becoming overwhelmed about things and always having to go check things. Rather than us constantly checking to see if somebody's posted a question that we need to answer, we've created this forum, and within the forum is a discussion thread or any other thread you add that we've subscribed to. So when you post it, we get an email that says you've posted, and we can actually see what the question is. So then we can go in and check it. That really cuts down the number of times we need to check something that could be empty. And how we did that is on the outside of the, when we set up the forum, I'm going to edit it. And down here there is a subscribe area. And you can check, allow members to subscribe to a thread or a forum, and then get a link to the post or get the post in an email that gets sent to you. Do you want to subscribe to every forum in every thread in your whole online course? No, because you'll get a bunch of emails every time somebody posts. But for something like this, it might work out well. Or there's a particular thread that's of interest to you or your students, and you want to know when somebody replies to you, then you could use it for something like that. If you want to set a forum up for grading, this is where you would check grade forum and assign points to it, which I wouldn't do for this kind of forum, but I would on a weekly basis.
Is that pretty much almost a default subscription? Because I think something popped up on my BlackBerry today when you showing that I hit an email saying that orientation was today.
No, that was different. That was in the announcements area when I posted this.
So that's default in the announcements area.
It's not default,
okay.
But when I posted the announcement, I have kind of a default where I always send out an email of it. Down here where it says override user notification, That means email.
Okay.
So I clicked that, and it went out to all of you. So, now, secretly, the reason it says that is because there is a notification system in Blackboard where you could subscribe and get to your BlackBerry notices when I post anything in the course. And that's why it says override, because you're like, I don't care whether they want to get this announcement or not, I'm giving it to them. So that's what that means. But most students, and probably most faculty, don't even know there's a notification ability inside of Blackboard. Alrighty, so any questions about the orientation before we move into week 1? That's pretty much the format. Each Friday is going to be, hey, here's what you did all week. We're going to take some time, we're going to do a hands-on activity to do that. And then, all right, here's what's happening next week. So I'm going to go ahead and go into week 1. Now, you probably noticed when I opened the course up and sent you an email welcoming you to the course, when you went into assignments, you only saw this. And this is pretty much what's common practice is. At the beginning of the course, don't overwhelm students with everything in the course. Now, there are some students who say they signed up for an online course because they want to work at their own pace whenever they want. And that could mean one of two things. That means either they want to wait till the last minute and do everything, or they want to work ahead of everybody. I have occasionally have a student who says, the reason I took an online course is because I didn't want to interact with anybody. Well, that's not going to happen here. So it is a good idea here and also in your online or hybrid course to keep your students together. Because if you get somebody in different weeks, they're not interacting with each other, and you're answering questions about every topic throughout whatever week they're spread over. But if I click Edit Mode On in my course, I can see the back-end view, and that is that here are all the other weeks of content. I will say to you, just as a tip, if you haven't taught online, you want to have this stuff developed before you start teaching the course. I mean, sure, it could look like I've got other weeks there, but I secretly don't, and I'm behind pedaling as fast as I can to create new weeks. You do not want to do that. We have helped more faculty with, like, that was my intent, and then something happened in my family or something technically happened, and it can be a real mess. So we encourage you to make sure you've got all your content ready before you start actually teaching online. Now, you might tweak this. Like, we all have all this stuff ready, but that doesn't mean we're just going to leave it alone. If there's something that comes up we need to tweak or add, we can do that behind the scenes too. But I'm going to move into week 1, and you'll find like the format's pretty much like the orientation, telling you what the outcome is, what you're supposed to read, when things are due, and there's already a series of discussion board threads out for you to respond to. Inside the learning activity this week is linked to building your course schedule. So next Friday when you come here, we're going to talk about that in the beginning and actually work through the course schedule and adding it. But you might do that online if you feel comfortable doing that. We really encourage you, like we would encourage your hybrid students, to not wait until you show up here to do anything for the course. I know that's easier said than done. Sometimes you'll find us scramble at the last minute to get things done to be ready for today. But if you treat this like really just a face-to-face thing, you won't get the experience that you need to out of it, and you won't get everything done. So inside the learning activity, we take you through how to put a schedule together and the idea of a CARP. And since it was mentioned, not everybody knows what I mean by CARP. CARP stands for the Curriculum Approval and Review Process. I hope I got that right. And so there's a curriculum for every course here. Anybody developing a brand new course? Okay, I think I heard that in the intro. So there's a CARP out there for your course. Some of you are familiar with it because you did it. Others you're familiar with it because you got it handed to you or directed to it. But we will link you to the CARP and take you through a process of aligning what you do each week with what you're supposed to be doing each week. And I say that because you may have had different experiences. Like I said earlier, it may be you were just given a book, told there's a CARP out there, and then you taught the book. This course is really tries to emphasize developing learning activities that are linked to what you're supposed to be teaching. For some, that's not a foreign concept. For others, it's like, wow. And like Lisa said earlier, that really helps improve your classroom. Another reason why I say this is because sometimes people come into this with this idea that I got all this stuff I'm doing on campus. Maybe they're not even clear why, but it's cool, it's fun, it's learning. But then as they start to have to whittle that down to put some things online, they start to focus on what is it that my students need to do to be able to learn what I said they were going to learn. Does that make sense? Like we've found like faculty might be doing 3 different activities in their class, all directed at the same outcome. So by doing this process, it helps you focus on what is that thing that I need to do online to make sure they learn this particular topic. It'd be really cool if you could do everything online. Cora mentioned like a video. You show it in class. We can do that online. We can use video resources in our online course. Groups. You do groups in your campus class. You can do groups online. We'll show you how to do that, and it's a little. Did I say groups? I meant groups. You know how to do that a little differently. Other things you might say, that's a really fun thing to do in class, but it's just not going to translate well. Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to have students draw this concept up on the board. You go here, here's markers, whatever. Well, that isn't necessarily going to translate well to an online environment, and I don't need that because I already do something else. Enough about that? Alrighty. And so we give you a template of an online schedule. We give you a video how to do it. We try not to have you do anything from scratch. I guess one question I have for you as I talk about course schedules, do any of you currently have a digital version of your campus course schedule? Okay? Like a document. It's digital. Like I say digital because sometimes I get people walking with a piece of paper and they go, yeah, I've scratched the notes out about what I'm going to do. What we're talking about doing is putting something in your online course that you follow and your students can see and follow.
Are you talking about a course calendar?
It could be. You could call it that. Basically what we're talking about is letting students know what you're doing, kind of a roadmap of the course. You could call it a calendar, you call it a schedule. It could be in your syllabus. Like we showed you our syllabus. Here's my theory. Syllabus, generic. Course policies, grading, generic things that don't really change a whole lot from semester to semester. Schedule, separate document, tweak the dates, change things. That's for that course each semester. If you approach it like that, online that will become very simple because anytime a student asks you, what's your online course like? I want to see your syllabus. You can send it to them without changing all the dates in your syllabus. So that's kind of the way we structure the class, but of course our OHCC schedule and syllabus are together, but that's because it's a short 5-week thing. But call it whatever you want to call it, just make sure students understand what it is that they're going to be doing. Now, you might say, well, I don't do that in my campus class. They come to class each week. I tell them I'm covering a topic, but I don't let them know everything we're going to do. It is different online. They're out there, you're in here. They're not clear on what's going on. You're not able to make necessarily all these fine adjustments that you can make in the campus classroom every day. So you really have to have a roadmap for yourself, and they have to have a good idea of where they're going. All right, and then I did want to cover this because I think you guys all scatter, and then you get online, and they're like, okay, which one is he actually grading? Or, where am I submitting this thing? So I kind of want to take you through that. Once you learn about online course schedules, you are going to post your draft online schedule on the discussion board. So the discussion board is broke down into a series of posts about the online course schedule. Okay? So I say that because sometimes I get, well, I posted my schedule to the discussion board, how come I don't have a grade? Because there's more after this. So it says, click the link above and reply to the online course schedule, part 3. So you go to this, and you go into this post, and then that's where it prompts you, and there's an example there, if you want to see what it looks like down here, of a schedule, what you need to do. And basically it is post your schedule, give each other feedback, and then go on to submit your final schedule. Now, that may be kind of foreign to you. You may have never prepared your syllabus schedule getting feedback from your peers about it. But this is a learning activity where you put out there kind of what you're thinking, and then you get the opportunity for somebody else to put their eyes on it and say, that's awesome, I want to use that idea, or I'm not really entirely clear about what you're asking your students to do. So it will make your final submission better. And you can see doing this in your online class. Rather than just saying submit a paper, you know, you could say have a peer review of some kind first, and then they finally submit something. But after you've posted it and you've got feedback from it, then you're going to actually submit it to us. And I'll show you where to do that here at the end.
Are we designing a course that's a certain number of weeks?
Good question. So the presumption here is that it's a full semester course, but your course might be a varying number of weeks. Maybe it's 7, it's 10, it's 15, whatever it is. Whatever you want to do. A lot of people do the whole 15-week semester or 10 or whatever it is, and then later they develop, you know, a more accelerated version of it. So it's pretty common for somebody to say, I'm going to do fall of 2011 as my schedule. And then, you know, all of a sudden they end up actually teaching it in the summer. So they need to be thinking about, well, I'm probably going to have to do something with that schedule if it's over 7 weeks. Did that answer your question? We're not requiring you to make it 15 weeks. It can be whatever weeks you want to. I guess that's one point to bring up real quick is if you get certified and you actually get a course to teach, when might you do that? So, you know, obviously if it's a course that's already out there, it's just a question of selection process within your department. If it's a course you're developing, we already said you're not going to have it developed by the time you get done with this course. There's a pretty good chance with the development process, the approval process and the development and getting it into the schedule, that if you're taking this winter now, about winter of the next year is when you're going to see that. So like if you came into this thinking, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to teach it May 1st, that isn't going to happen because, you know, if you look at our enrollments, you know, fall registration is going to open up in March. So, you know, you'd have to have the course developed and in the schedule, and then students start enrolling in it. We wouldn't want students to register for a course that really isn't developed. So just kind of a way to think about it. All right, and I just say, even if you, I know this is a tough one because this isn't my situation, but even if you know you're not sure you're going to actually teach it, keep developing the content for it because anything could happen. We've had faculty are like, somebody gets sick or something happens or whatever, and they're called in to do it. They're like frantically trying to develop the content that they need to teach the course, or they can't get access to somebody else's material or whatever. So, alrighty. So after,
And hopefully you'll might find some value in using some of the content that you developed for your big space labs, because I know here you do a lot of that too.
I do. I mean, my courses are starting to look quite a bit alike. Yeah. So then, at the end, there's after that activity, there's an upload online course schedule, and if you click on that link, This is the graded activity where after you've gotten feedback and revised your schedule, you're going to upload your schedule here. So what I do, or we do, after the week is over, we go looking in the grade book for your schedule submission. So we're not looking at the draft you posted in the discussion board. We're looking here. Questions about that? Alrighty. We'll be available to you online. You can email us. There are a ton of resources in the course, or we also have a website, which is grcc.edu/dlit for distance learning and instructional technology. So you can go there. There's tip sheets, there's videos for how to use Blackboard, how to create things in Blackboard. We really encourage you to use Firefox. It's on the front page of Blackboard. You can check your browser, you can download it. And in the future, if you're off campus, maybe most of you already know this, you can go directly to bb.grcc.edu, bookmark it, and get into the course a lot quicker. All right, well, if there aren't any other questions, we'll see you later. We'll see you online. See you online, yeah. And there's snacks if you want to grab some on the way out. I'm a minute over, but. And I'll stop the recording.